Today we're going to talk a little bit about the plants that we grow and sell and distribute for people to use in their yards and in their homes.
Hi everybody, my name is Eric Wright. I am the Stewardship Director here at TNI. And part of my job is to kind of supervise the ongoing of our volunteers and everybody that works in our greenhouse. So our mission statement is to foster awareness through preservation, restoration, and education. And our greenhouse kind of touches a little piece of each one of those. So as far as preservation, we're definitely putting some plants out there and we're preserving the genetic diversity in our area. For restoration, we're restoring the plants that are long gone and replacing some of our garden plants with some native plants instead. And then education, the more you use these plants and see these plants, the more you're going to learn about it and the more you're going to appreciate the natural world around you.
Hi, my name is Ann Osborne. I am running the greenhouse here at the Nature Institute, and I want to explain to you what all of us do here to help people get some interest in doing the native plants in their yards and why we need them. The first thing that we do is we get our seeds, and Eric will talk more about that. And what we do is we do what's called stratification. And what we plant them in the fall, and we put them in our box where they stay all winter long. Then come February, we start putting them in the greenhouse, we add heat to them, and get the process started. We have volunteers that come in normally, except for this year. We've had to not take our volunteers. We raise them from seed all the way up to the point that they get to go out in our corral off to the side here. And from there, they are sold to private individuals and to organizations to help spread the word about planting natives and why they're so important.
So as I'm out collecting seed, I have a couple things in mind. A lot of these plants, they're not gonna have a home in a large prairie somewhere. It's kind of inefficient. If you're gonna plant a large prairie, you probably just wanna do it all by seed. But if you're gonna kind of do a landscaping project where you wanna incorporate some native plants into your landscaping, then it's good to have individual plants that we grow in our greenhouse. A lot of the seed that I collect, I select different species that aren't necessarily your 7, 8, 9, 10 foot tall prairie species, but kind of some of those shorter growing stuff. As we are all kind of getting used to having native plants around in our landscaping and everything, we don't want to kind of scare people away by having this 10 foot tall plant that just looks like a big weed that your neighbors don't like. So a lot of our species, we try to get a lot of smaller stuff. Outside of that, we look for different species that have different blooming periods and different blooming colors. So in an ideal landscaping design, you want to have something, basically 2 species blooming in each blooming period. And we kind of break down these blooming periods through like a late spring to early summer, a summer blooming period, a late summer into early fall blooming period, and then a fall blooming period. So if you can have 2 species of native plants blooming at each one of those periods, you've got a pretty successful landscaping design. So you might be wondering what plants are right for my yard. Well, the first thing you have to look for is plants love sun. So you need to know, do you have partial sun? Do you have morning sun? Do you have full sun? Do you have afternoon sun? And based on that, you can see the needs of a plant. We actually produce a lot of informational material, and never be afraid to ask us what plants will work right for your yard. After you get your sun situation taken care of, then you have to look at how much moisture you have. If you're on a hill and the water generally runs off, it's going to be a lot drier than if you have a dip where you have some water that accumulates when we have a lot of rain. So you have to select your species of plant you want to put in your yard based on how much moisture there is and how much sun there is. The third factor for selecting a plant is how high do you want to be, which I already discussed briefly. But if you have landscaping in front of your house where maybe you don't want the taller plants, you can actually look at the plant height and figure out how big do you want a plant to go. You don't want it to cover up your windows maybe, or you don't want it to look too big and weedy. There's all kinds of things to consider when it comes to plant height. Also, I think Ann discussed this a little bit, but if you have plants that are multiple heights, you can kind of tier your garden where you have the shorter plants in the front, you have a little bit larger stuff in the middle, and then the tall stuff in the back. So our native plants are definitely lower maintenance than some of our more horticultural traditional landscaping plants. However, they aren't a no maintenance plant. You will have to kind of keep an eye on stuff. Some plants can be trimmed back so you don't let them get as tall. Some plants might die off the first year and you have to replace them. You may have to do some weeding around some of these plants. Also, in a lot of the projects that I've planted, I've actually mulched the entire area to prevent weeds from getting in there. Another design strategy is to put a whole bunch of plants in a small area so weeds can't grow in there.
People want to grow these things at home because they bring nature back into your yard. If you plant a small 5 square foot area, the amount of insects, butterflies, moths, beetles, every kind of insect that you have not seen, you will start seeing in your yard within the end of that year. And the next year, they'll be coming back for more to see what else there is. The first year that mine, I redid a whole garden bed alongside my driveway, and I had roughly about 200 monarch butterflies every day that would come through, and they'd go from plant to plant to plant. And no one else in the neighbors on the street had done that, and now they're all wondering how come I have them and they don't. So neighbors are asking me to plant some stuff in their yards, so I've been starting to do that. So we should see a big increase in the next couple of years. We need these insects. There's a lot of ecology that goes along with having all these insects, and we've lost too many of them in our area. So we need to definitely bring them back. They help with the pollination, which down the road helps everything that we need also.
All right, so thanks so much for coming in and checking this out with us. If you're interested in buying plants, keep an eye on our website for our upcoming sales. And if you'd like to volunteer, just reach out to us. Eric would love to have the help and would love to teach more people about native plant landscaping. If you just have some questions or you're curious, feel free to reach out, call, email, or just ask one of us next time you come by. We love to talk about this and we love to share these plants with our community. So thanks so much.